Hello, my precious ones. This is Jamie Dawn, your professional psychic advisor, success coach, revolutionary astrologer. And I am bringing you this video for the week coming up, and today happens to be April 25th, 2020, as Pluto, our powerhouse planet, is stationing to go retrograde. And this happens every year that Pluto does retrograde. The significance is that Pluto is still in Capricorn, and it is going to be retrograding back through the degrees of 23 to 25 and making another conjunction to our expansive planet of luck and fortune, but also can be overindulgence or extremism, Jupiter. And we saw this conjunction on April 4th. The next one will be June 30th, and then a final conjunction in October of this year. And so when this shows up, we know we can make a little note, a little pin on the map, that April 4th was when the COVID really started to take over here in the United States. And there was this sense of panic, if you will, this sense of like, oh, well, now we really need to take it seriously, and it's time to get this thing handled. I don't like being a doom and gloom kind of person. I will tell you 2020, we already know, has had a rough start. I don't know that it's going to get easier this year. I will say that what we're going to be working with, especially when Mars moves into Aries in June, and it will retrograde, Mars will be in Aries for almost 6 months. And that means it's going to be squaring off. It's going to create dynamic tension with Pluto and Jupiter, and also with Saturn, because Saturn's also going to be retrograding this summer back into Capricorn. And so we've got some tension, we've got some stuff happening that we have to just pay attention to. And if I can offer it this way, the bottom line is we are being asked to transform the ways that we used to do things. They won't work in the future. That's the whole thing. We are moving out of a 200-year cycle. This is the last year of this 200-year cycle before this new dynasty, if you will, takes shape. And when Saturn and Jupiter move into Aquarius permanently, for a year at least for Jupiter, but when these two planets of Jupiter and Saturn move into Aquarius at the end of the year in December, we're going to be entering into this whole new 200-year cycle. And so I'm just setting this up. What does that have to do with this week? Let's just bring it all back. Now that's the sort of the bigger picture. What about this week? And this week, when Pluto is stationed now and going to go retrograde in a couple of hours, we're going to start to feel some of this internal dialogue, maybe some of the stuff underneath the surface that we didn't even know was there, because Pluto has a tendency to bring up the hidden, the unknown, and bring it forward in a way that is asking us, where's our unique power? Maybe it's a superpower you didn't even know you had. And in order to activate it, there may be a moment where you're in a, oh shit, what am I supposed to do with this? You know? I like to say that when Pluto is activated, there's this time of better the devil you know than the one you don't. So the devil, if you will, which is really not an evil thing, the devil is the unknown. When it shows up, we're able to dance with it. We're able to meet it and say, okay, now how do I work with this? You've heard me say this a number of times, but how do I make this what could be a weapon? How do I make it into a tool for deeper awakening and awareness, a tool to be of benefit to others, a tool that I can offer to myself and my loved ones and my community? And so that's what we're going to be working with in the next couple of days in particular, is that we may have a little taster of something unknown or hidden showing up. The gift is we're in a different place now than we were even yesterday or a week ago. And so we're going to be able to meet it in a much different way. And we also should have some resources that we may not have had before. The thing with also Pluto in the retrograde of Capricorn is that it's a pretty intense time. And so that does make it more challenging because it has this stoic or this serious nature to it. So what we're facing is serious, you know? What we're facing can be something that activates a more, it needs a more serious approach to it. And so when we're doing that, I like to remind myself of what one of my yoga teachers said once was, take your practice seriously, but don't take yourself too seriously. So what we're facing, what we're meeting, definitely take it seriously, but continue to keep some levity about yourself and go, oh, okay, I screwed that up again. All right, so be it. Or, hey, I did really well. I'm going to take a moment to celebrate this because I actually met it differently. Compassion is also going to be so crucial. The other gift of this week is we've got Mercury moving into Taurus in the middle of the week. And when Mercury moves into Taurus, it takes on a slower, more methodical approach to our mental acuity, or the way we process information. It's a great time if you want to take some classes or if you want to gather some information or connections with people, having conversations that just bring great comfort, that allow you to feel really warm and friendly. So Mercury in Taurus could offer us an opportunity to be able to just feel good in the middle of all of this. I think one of the keys to this week is gathering the people around you that really uplift your spirits, even if that means you're using Zoom or Skype or whatever to connect with them, or the phone, FaceTime, but having those conversations that just help warm your spirit to keep our vibration lifted. We need each other to do that. I think the other thing we're going to have to keep in mind as well is that tomorrow and Sunday, the Sun and Uranus are going to be exact. They're going to be canoodling right next to each other at 6 degrees, while Pluto is retrograding in its first moments of retrograde. And what that could do is it could bring in these sudden, because it's going to be a trine, so it can bring in a sudden aha. It can bring in a bit of a grace and an ease that wasn't there before, maybe a solution to something or a resource that you didn't have, that it was like, oh, this is exactly what I needed in order to meet this particular situation. So there's that gift there. And then Mercury moving into Taurus early midweek will also start to make its conjunction to Uranus. And when that happens, then we may have opportunities to also suddenly tell somebody something very inspirational of this higher mind, because Uranus is that higher consciousness. And so it can just come in from nowhere where it's like, hey, this is the burst of inspiration that I have, that I want to share, or that I needed in order for me to feel that I can keep going. And I think that's probably the biggest theme for this week, is that we're going to have moments where we finally feel like we can keep going. We get these little hints or these little moments where it's like, okay, I can keep doing this. And I think we need that. This is a time where we can get really exhausted, especially mentally, because we're trying to figure things out, or we're trying to do something and we're forced to be restricted still. I can tell you that I believe that this is the week where we will start to feel some movement in our society. That we already know, if you look at the headline news, there are some states that are already starting to lift some of the restrictions. Is it foolish? That's, it's not up to me to, my opinion is we have to get back to life in some way, shape, or form. So, we want to be careful that we don't put the focus on the fear. At the same time, we want to be prudent. So keeping a foot in both worlds, I feel, is going to be appropriate. I'm going to lead us back to this. When in doubt, check in with yourself. Trust your own inner wisdom. If something doesn't feel right to you inside of your body, then make your decisions according to you, regardless of what the outside fodder and outside world may be saying. Again, this is a time not for us to add more, but to go deeper into ourselves. So I offer this to you, that this week, doesn't have a huge amount of activity. It doesn't have a lot of like big burst of movement, if you will, or great, maybe the great ahas, so to speak. But I do believe that the subtle ahas, those little moments of like, oh, that's it, those are going to be precious. And you know, Oliver and I, when we do our class, we talk about how even the most subtle is where the magic lies. It's not always in the big phenomenons that can happen. So pay attention to the subtle. Move gently through the week. That's the thing I really appreciate about Mercury being in Taurus, is that it allows maybe our mind and our thoughts and our emotions to move a little gentler than they normally would. And in this gentleness, we can find great appreciation for what's happening inside of ourselves, what's happening in nature, what's happening outside of us. And so that gentleness can invite more compassion. It can invite more awareness of how we interact with ourselves and others. All right, you guys, I hope that you have a really good week. I'd love to connect with you. Please keep me posted. You can find me at jamiedawn.com when to listen. I look forward to hearing about what is happening for you in this world, in the worlds beyond, and especially in the internal world inside of you. All right, you guys, have a great week.